Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and all glories to the members of the Hare Krishna Society and the Prabhupada Disciples Association that assemble every week, 3 times a week, for readings and discussions from the unedited books of Srila Prabhupada, which we cherish very much. I know when I first joined the movement back in 1971, that's the only books that we had were the original Bhagavatams that, and the Blue Gita that Prabhupada had produced with the Macmillan Company. So it wasn't that we had an abundance of books. It was still at the early stages of the Krishna consciousness movement. Prabhupada had come, as you know, all of you, in 1965 on September 19th, and he undertook this mission in New York City. And he had a vision for expanding it. He also understood that he had limited time. This is the vision of the pure devotee, because he is beyond time and space. In other words, he does not live in the material network that we're in, but he lives on the transcendental platform, understanding that he is the eternal servant of Krishna, beyond the body, which is subjected to time and space, past, present, and future. So this transcendental vision is something that Prabhupada wanted to share with all of us. And that is what he did by producing his wonderful books, the unedited books that we just had printed and or are having printed, that we just collected the funds for to have printed from all of you that contributed. And I believe we have about 80 people in our group that have given some donation in this effort, taken some of their Lakshmi and dovetailed it in the service of Krishna. And this we want to thank you for, because this represents surrender. Because surrender means you do, whether it's you go on Sankirtan, whether you donate money, whether you offer food and to your deities and serve it to others, whether you chant Hare Krishna and chant with others. This is all devotional service dovetailed in the service of the Lord. So this is what the business of a Vaishnava is to dovetail his time, his energy, his his life in the service of the transcendental mission of Lord Chaitanya. It's a dovetailing, a surrendering. And this is the way to liberation from the bondage of birth and death, which we are all in. I was mentioning yesterday, I saw a person that I hadn't associated with for many years, and I was shocked to see how deteriorated their body was. It was absolutely horrific, actually. And this is the plight of all living entities, to deteriorate. There's 6 transformations that we go through in the material body: birth, growth, sustenance, deterioration, and death. There's 5, but anyway, byproducts and death. So this deterioration is taking place amongst all of us. We all can see that in our own particular lives, depending on our age. Of course, youth can be very contaminating, because when you're youthful, you think, oh, I won't be old. Oh no, I've got all this strength, all this energy. I'm not going to be like an old man. And all of a sudden you're an old man, because time marches without any resistance. Time is marching, like we're experiencing it every day, every week. Here at the ashram, we have a saying: every day is Friday. Well, what do you mean by that? I tell my friend here, Walter, every day is Friday, because every time you turn around, another week has gone by. And you have to look at how you utilized your time, correctly or incorrectly, in the service of Krishna. Anything that's not related to Krishna, anything that's on the material platform, is technically a waste of time. Beyond time and space. That was Prabhupada's position in preaching Krishna consciousness. And his purpose was to share this understanding with other people, new people, people that were bewildered. For example, before Prabhupada came to America, everybody was in illusion, everybody. So you had hundreds of millions of people had no idea of conception of time, none. What was valuable in terms of the use of time, or what was a waste of time. That's one thing that we do. We waste time, especially the conditioned soul. They have no idea what is the value of the human form of life. And they waste their time in frivolous activity. Very stupid. Like, for example, every day when I go out for my japa walks, and I know many of you know I speak to you on the phone when I'm on my walks, what do I see every day? I see people walking dogs. Yes, they're walking their dog. Is it a valuable thing? Yes, it is, for their so-called health and for the dog's health. But will it save them at the time of death? No. The only thing that will save us at the time of death is our Krishna consciousness. And that Krishna consciousness develops by the proper use of time. And so time management is key to making advancement in spiritual life. And Prabhupada was very diligent about the use of his time. We're going to see that today in the readings of the diaries. And just before we go to them, I just wanted to show you, this is the Bhagavatam that we will be sending to everyone that has donated to this GoFundMe drive to get them printed. We had a chance to review with our team that are working on this campaign, and we decided that irrespective of the donation, the gesture, it isn't the amount, it is the intent of those people that took the time to sit down and go through this GoFundMe exercise of donating that qualifies them to get a set of these Bhagavatams. Yes, because we understand that these people that donated do connect the dots between what this campaign is and how they can help it and the benefit that'll come to them by rendering the service for the benefit of others. Because not only are we planning to print these, we are also planning to distribute them to sincere people that are interested in getting out of the spirit of the material world. And this is very important. This is called Sankirtan, which is the life of all transcendental knowledge. And it gives us a taste of the nectar for which we are always anxious. Oh yes, always anxious. We're looking for happiness. The happiness that we're looking for is beyond time and space. It is not mundane, petty sense gratification. And we're all swirling in this Kali Yuga consciousness that, especially in the West, we're raised in. Kali Yuga consciousness. And it is very unfortunate, but we are fortunate to get the association in Vani, in the sound vibration that is emanating from the lips, from the heart of the pure devotee of Krishna, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and everybody respond, Ki Jai. Thank you.
Jai.
Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
This is, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Jai.
So exciting when we used to do kirtans, especially in front of Prabhupada. I had a chance to lead many kirtans, guru pujas and kirtans overall. And one of the exhilarating, exciting moments in the kirtan was at the end, when you get a chance to perform or pronounce the pranams. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paribrajakacharya Astatara Sata Shri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki
Jai.
Jai.
Thank you. Yeah, that was the most exciting thing. It gives me a thrill just to think about it, and that I had the blessing. Okay, you know, what can you do when you had the blessing to be able to do that right in front of your spiritual master, who is a qualified, bona fide representative of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Jai.
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 So, you know, Prabhupada, and then at the end, of course, and one of the biggest moments in the kirtan that I can remember was chanting. You're doing the kirtan, you know, kirtan is an art, by the way. It's an art form. It's a transcendental art form. It's not a flip-flop, get up and do whatever you want type of kirtan, like some of the kirtans that we hear today. But the biggest and most ecstatic kirtan was when you got to the point where Prabhupada is sitting on the Vyāsadeva. You're in front of him. All the devotees around you are in complete bliss. Hey, Krishna Kata, Prabhupada is right in front of us. And you're like, you're really beyond time and space. And then all of a sudden, you break into this, despite what Jayadvaita said. What is this Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada? Remember when he said that? I thought, where is this guy from? He's certainly not from this world of transcendental bliss, because the bliss came when we did this. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Like, all I can say is the reason he never understood the value of this is because there was some defect in his perception of his relationship with Srila Prabhupada. There is nothing more ecstatic than that. And I can tell you, when conducting a kirtan and when we all eventually come together by Krishna's grace, when we break out and we start chanting that, everybody will jump and chant in complete ecstasy in association of the God brothers who have a common focus on the pure devotee, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada. There is an ecstasy in this beyond time and space. There is an eternal position that we are all searching for. And in the shelter of the association of devotees and focused on the eternal servant of Krishna, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, you'll taste that nectar. Yes, you will. Be confident of that. Now, you can do it even on your own. I think once in 1973, 73 in a kirtan, I actually felt some ecstasy. I think that was the only time, maybe for 1 or 2 seconds. But a drop, even a drop of nectar, is special in this world of illusion, confusion. Very special. So hanker, everyone should hanker for the ecstasy for which we are always anxious, the transcendental relationship with a bona fide spiritual master. And it may come by Krishna's mercy. Even if it doesn't come, you keep going, never give up. And eventually, by the grace of the Lord and the pure devotee, those emotions will naturally arouse within the heart of a sincere devotee, like Jayananda Prabhu. And today we're on this special day of Jayananda's appearance day. Is it Yashoda? Appearance day or disappearance? Huh? Microphone.
On Tuesday is the Disappearance Day Festival of Jayananda, and Wednesday is Lord Narasimha.
Okay.
Mayapur calendar.
We're going to go to the diaries just quickly. I'll read them. We only have 2 entries today. We're at the end of the diaries. So there was a notice that Prabhupada did in his own handwriting. Yeah, there it is, a memorandum of accounts. And there's Prabhupada. He's sitting in Tompkins Square Park here. That's the tree behind him. So this is how he started the Sankirtan mission in New York City. And here's the notice to the devotees he did in his own handwriting. And by the way, we used to have these pasted up at all the ashrams, if you recall Krishna Katha. So at the Gerrard Street Temple in Toronto, we had like 50, 60 people living in one house. We had about 17 brahmacharis on the 3rd floor. It was about 300 feet of space. And this notice was posted on the wall, photocopied. All initiated devotees must attend morning and evening classes. All initiated must not be addicted to any kind of intoxication, including coffee, tea, and cigarettes. They are forbidden to have illicit sex connections, must be strictly vegetarian, shouldn't extensively mix with non-devotees, should not eat foodstuffs cooked by non-devotees, should not waste time in idle talks, nor engage himself in frivolous sports. Should always chant and sing the Lord's holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And thank you from A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And here we'll read another, I thought was very interesting memorandum. This was on February 23rd, 1966. New York, New York. So it's before the opening of Matchless Gifts at 26 2nd Avenue. So I guess he was at the loft at this time, or before that, at Mishra's, and he had an office there he was living in with no cooking facilities or bathroom for cleaning. Ladies and gentlemen, I beg to inform you that the classes which I'm holding now may be called the initiation classes for developing the International Institution for God Consciousness. For the present, the classes may be held thrice in a week, namely Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, times 7 to 9 p.m. And interestingly enough, we never really planned 3 classes a week. When we started this program, it just sort of evolved that way. We took the 3 main scriptures, and our classes are on Wednesday, Friday, or Saturday and Sunday, and it is for time convenience that we conduct the classes because of the global audience that we attract. So we are planning other programs coming forward because we find there's a lot of interest. Thousands of people are interested in the Prabhupada Disciples Association, Hare Krishna Society classes, thousands. Like recently, I put a post up 2.5 days ago, and it's close to 6,000 views on their Facebook group. 6,000, moving probably to 10,000 views by a week or 2 on its publication. So we get over 100,000 views a month from a variety of people. For contribution, for expenses may not be less than dollars for each meeting. Example, $3 per week. So he hadn't determined a value, but he was saying, okay, if everybody gave $1 for coming to the class, which is quite fair, I'd say, wouldn't you, Krishna Gata? $1
Yes.
to hear Prabhupada speak? That's very fair.
All day long.
People are worried about their money, but money just comes and goes. Chanchala, flickering like the mind, it just comes and goes. So if we can capture it and engage it, buy a donation in GoFundMe, and our GoFundMe program is still active, so please donate money to this. Take advantage of the opportunity to get yourself a set of Bhagavatams from us. The original 62, 64, 65 reproduced versions of this transcendental treasure. Well, someone could say, well, it's just, you're going to have a couple of these are going to be specks in eternity. And those people, it's just like rare coins. You get a rare coin, even though the mint produces millions of them, 20 years later, you can't find one. Oh, I got a 1955 nickel. Oh, 1955 nickel? Weren't there millions made? Yes, there were. Are there a lot around? No, well, who knows? But this one's worth $3,000. These books are invaluable to everyone's spiritual life. And like I said, if you donate on the GoFundMe platform, and maybe our production chief here today could put the GoFundMe put the GoFundMe link up or post it on the chat. Go to that link and make a donation, and we will send you a set of Srimad Bhagavatams when they're printed. And this will be the most valuable treasure you can acquire in this human life. Believe it. This is not some kind of frivolous thing we're doing. The contribution for experience may not be less than $1 for each meeting. Other days, although I shall be available between 6 to 8 p.m. for discussion, there is no need of contribution. So Prabhupada's giving his time freely. You don't have to pay. Just come over and learn and listen. I hope you will agree to this proposal and give your kind assent by signature. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Very interesting look at the transcendental pastimes of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Prabhupada, the pure devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We'll move forward with the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava and then the reading and discussion from these books, led by our wonderful God brother Yashodanandana Prabhu, living up in the mountains in Twain Harte, California, where the sun is shining now and there's no earthquakes. Haribol.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Muspa Paramahansa Paribhrajagacharya Siddhare Srismadhati Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Bhagavad Ki Jai Ananta Kodi Vaishnavindra Ki Jai Ramacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Bhog Gopinath Sam Khand Radha Khand Girivardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mai की जाए जमुना माई की जाए गुरु द्वारका धाम की जाए स्वामी तो भक्तविंद की जाए और ग्लोरी टू देयर सिमर और ग्लोरी टू देयर सिमर थैंक यू वेरी मच
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord, Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you from Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam namaskritya Narayanam namaskritya Naram cheva narottamam Naram cheva narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyāsam Devim Saraswatim Vyāsam Tato Jayam Mudirayat Tato Jayam Mudirayat. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead, Narayana, 2, to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Srila Vyāsadeva, the author, from Srimad Bhagavatam 1-4. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam. As we do every Sunday morning, we will be reading a few select verses which explains the meaning and the great benefit of hearing this great, powerful, transcendental literature of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Venkat? Okay. Yadanyad anudhyasina yuktaha karmagranti nibandanam chindanti kovidastasya kona kuryat kataratim. Intelligent persons do cut off the internet of the knot of reactionary work by remembrance of the personality of Godhead. Therefore, who will not give attention to his message? Text number 16. Shushrushoho shradadhanasya Vasudeva kataruchihi Syanmahat sevaya vipra punyatirtha nishevanat. O the twice-born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all ranges of vice, a standard of great service is done. And as the result of such great service, affinity in the message of Vasudeva is made possible. Text number 17. Shrinvatam svakata krishnaham punyashravana kirtanaham Hridyanta stoya bhadrani vidunoti suritsatam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is also the Paramatma in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, does cleanse the desire for material enjoyment in the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge for hearing his messages, Krishna's messages, which are themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Text 18. Nashtraprayeshu vabhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevayam bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in the Bhagavatam class or rendering service unto the pure devotees, all that is inauspicious in the heart of a candidate becomes destroyed almost to nil, and thus loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, comes into being an irrevocable fact. Text 19. tadarajastamo bhava kamalobhadayaschaye chetayeterana viddam stitam sattve prasidati. As soon as irrevocable loving service is fixed up in one's heart, at that time the effects of the nature's mode of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire and hankerings, etc., do disappear from one's heart, and he becomes fixed up in a mode of goodness, which makes him completely happy. Evam prasanna manasu bhagavad bhaktiyo gataha bhagavat tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate. Thus, when one is positively fixed up in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the enlivened-minded man affected by contact of devotional service of the Lord can positively know scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. As we often do on Sundays, we will read one or two selected verses from a compilation called Gaudiya Kanta R, specifically to chapter 2. This little booklet was compiled at the direction and supervision of His Divine Grace, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. It is explaining in chapter 2 the meaning and importance of Srimad Bhagavatam by citing various texts from Shastra, Chaitanya Bhagavata, Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is a text from 2:14, chapter 2, text 14, in the Gaudiya Kanta R, from Madhya Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 6, text 169. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 6, text 169. Jiver nishtero lagi sutra koilo vyas, mayavadi bhashya shunili hoy sarvanash. Vyāsadeva presented the Vedic literature for the deliverance of the conditioned souls. But if one hears the commentary of Shankaracharya, everything is spoiled. 2:15. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 12, chapter 13, text number 15. Sarva Vedanta Saram Hi Shri Bhagavatam Ishyati Tadrasamrita Triptasya Nanyatrasyad Rati Kvachit. Srimad Bhagavatam is accepted as the essence of all Vedic literature and Vedantic philosophy. Whoever tastes the transcendental mellow of Srimad Bhagavatam is never attracted to any other literature. So this week we will be reading from Canto 1, Chapter 5. If somebody can display the text here. Very nice. Thank you very much, Venkat and Rupesh. This is text number 13. Ato Mahabhaga Bhavan Namo Gadrik Shuti Shrabaha Satyarato Dritavrataha Urukramasya Akila Banda Muktaye Samadhina Anusmaratadi Cheshtitam. Ato, therefore, Mahabhaga, highly fortunate, Bhavan, yourself, Amogadrik, the perfect seer, Suchi, spotless, Shrabaha, famous, Satyarato, taken the vow of truthfulness, Dritavrataha, fixed up in spiritual qualities, Urukramasya, of the one who performs supernatural activities, God. Akila, universal. Banda, bondage. Muktaye, for the matter of liberation from. Samadhina, by trance. Anusmara, think repeatedly and then describe them. Tadvicheshtitam, different pastimes of the Lord, all English synonyms, translations, and purports by His divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Knowledge of, O Vyāsadeva, your vision is completely perfect. Your good fame is spotless. You are fixed up in vow and situated in truthfulness. And as such, you can think of the pastimes of the Lord in trance, just for the liberation of the people in general from all material bindings. Purport. People in general have a taste for literatures by instinct. They want to hear and read from the authorities something about the unknown, but their taste is exploited by unfortunate literatures which is full of subject matter for satisfaction of the material senses. Such literary careers develop into different kinds of Monday poems and philosophical speculations, more or less under the same influence of Maya, ending in sense gratification. These literatures, although worthless in true sense of the term, are variedly decorated to attract the attention of the less intelligent men, and thus the attracted living entities are more and more entangled in the material bondage without any hope of liberation for thousands and crores of generations. Sri Nārada Rishi, as he is the best among the Vaishnavas, is compassionate for such unfortunate victims of worthless literatures, and as such he advises unfortunate victims of worthless, he advises Sri Vyāsadeva to compose such transcendental literature which may not only be attractive, but also actually cause liberation from all kinds of bondage of the materialistic men. Srila Vyāsadeva or his representatives are the right persons to do this act because they are rightly trained up to see things in true perspective on account of their spiritual vision. Srila Vyāsadeva and his representatives are pure in thought on account of their spiritual enlightenment, fixed up in vow on account of their devotional service, and all of them are determined to deliver the fallen souls rotting in material activities. The fallen souls are very eager to receive novel informations every day, and the transcendentalists like Vyāsadeva or Nārada can supply such eager people in general with news from the spiritual world without any limitation. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the material world is only a part of the whole creation, and this earth is only a fragment of the whole material world. There are thousands and thousands of literacy men all over the world, and they have created many, many thousands of literary works for the information of the people in general for thousands and thousands of years. Unfortunately, none of them have brought in peace and tranquility on the earth between man to man, nation to nation. This is due to spiritual vacuum in those literatures, and as such, the Vedic literatures, especially the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam, are specifically recommended to the suffering humanity for bringing about the desired effect of liberation from the pangs of material civilization, which is eating the vital part of the human energy. The Bhagavad Gita is the spoken message by the Lord himself, recorded by Vyāsadeva, And the Srimad Bhagavatam is the transcendental narration of the activities of the same Lord Krishna, which alone can satisfy the hankering desires of the living beings for eternal peace and liberation from miseries. Srimad Bhagavatam is therefore meant for all the living beings all over the universe for total liberation from all kinds of material bondage. Such transcendental narration of the pastimes of the Lord can only be described by such liberated souls like Vyāsadeva and his bona fide representatives who are completely merged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Because to such devotees, only the pastimes of the Lord and their transcendental nature become automatically manifest by dint of devotional service attitude. Nobody else can either know or describe the acts of the Lord. Even they speculate on the subject for many, many years. Description of the Bhagavatam is so precise and accurate that whatever has been predicted in this great literature about 5,000 years before are now exactly happening without any deviation. Therefore, the vision of the author comprehends past, present, and future. Such liberated persons like Vyāsadeva are not only perfect by the power of vision and wisdom, but also they are perfect in oral reception in thinking, feeling, and all other perfect sense activities. A liberated person means possessing perfect senses, and with perfect senses only, one can serve the sense proprietor Hrishikesha, Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. Srimad Bhagavatam is therefore the perfect description of all perfect personality of Godhead by the all perfect personality like Srila Vyāsadeva, the compiler of the Vedas. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyayam Bhakti Vedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasme Shri Gurave Namaha. Bhagavad Vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatihi Visheshataham Adadhanastrinam Danter Didam Yachi Punaha Punaha Srimad Rupa Padam Bhoja Dhuli Syam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavatosmyaham Sadadaso Asmi Sarvatam Tat Kripa Pikshako Nityam Tat Prishta Shatakkaromishvam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Very important description here in the Srimad Bhagavatam about the exalted qualification of Srila Vyāsadeva. Nārada Muni is explaining that his vision is completely perfect, your good fame is spotless, you are fixed up in vow and situated in truthfulness, and as such you can think of the pastimes of the Lord in trance, just for the liberation of the people in general from all material bindings. And this is a very important point. We see that Srila Prabhupada in this purport is touching upon so many different points, but one very important point in the first paragraph, Prabhupada said, Sri Nārada Rishi, as he is the best among the Vaishnavas, is compassionate for such unfortunate victims of worthless literatures. And as such, he advises Srila Vyāsadeva to compose such transcendent literature which may not only be attractive, but also actually cause liberation from all kinds of bondage of the materialistic man. As part of our Sunday discussions, we've often discussed another text of Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna Swadhamopagate Dharmagyana Dibi Saha, that what happened after Lord Krishna departed 5,000 years ago, that the personality of Godhead is then manifested in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And Prabhupada explains in the purport that Lord Krishna is directly manifested in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. And this is a very important point, because sometimes persons with a poor fund of knowledge who are motivated by various other ideas, they will misunderstand why the Shastras and the words and explanations of the great acharyas are so important. Now, Prabhupada has often spoken about this. I've often given the example that when Prabhupada was in Atlanta, Georgia, in 1975, for the celebration of the appearance day of his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, he gave a very nice lecture. And he was explaining that it is not that he is dead and gone. This is not spiritual understanding, unquote. Now, let's think about that for a moment. There are some persons who are preaching that their vapu is very, very important, that their physical body is very, very important. But we see that Srila Prabhupada is explaining in so many places that the message, the transcendental vani, is always more important than the vapu. Of course, Srila Prabhupada's vapu is always very blissful and transcendental. His association was very special, and many of us were fortunate to have the association of such an exalted pure devotee. That was Krishna's mercy on us. But Prabhupada himself explained that the real association is the association of the Vani, or the instruction of the spiritual master. We all know what Prabhupada said in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam. He lives forever by his divine instructions, and a follower lives with him. Now, there's a very important point here that has been brought up by a devotee very recently. The devotee contacted me and was somewhat disturbed by the fact that says, well, there seems to be some dissension amongst the devotees and followers of Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, because there's many different groups, many different camps. Many of them are presenting different explanation of the philosophy. So why is that? Why is there so much dissension? There's a very nice explanation of this in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 14, text number 35. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 14, text number 35, Srila Prabhupada explains, in the verse, it says, Kvachin mito vyavaharan yat kinchid dhanam upayati vitashatyena. Sometimes conditioned souls exchange money, but in due course of time, enmity arises because of cheating. Although there may be a tiny profit, the conditioned souls cease to be friends and become enemies. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.8, Pumsastriyamitu nibhavametam tayormituridaya garanti bahuhu atugriyakshetra sutapta vittera jannasya mohoyamaham mameti. The monkey-like conditioned soul first becomes attached to sex, and when intercourse saturated takes place, he becomes more attached. He then requires some material comforts, apartment. Somebody else trying to speak, or? He then requires some material comforts, apartment, house, food, friends, wealth, and so on. In order to acquire these things, he has to cheat others, and this creates enmity, even amongst the most intimate friends. Sometimes this enmity is created between the conditioned soul and the father or spiritual master. Unless one is firmly fixed in the regulative principles, one may perform mischievous acts, even if one is a member of the Krishna consciousness movement. We therefore advise our disciples to strictly follow the regulative principles. Otherwise, the most important movement for the upliftment of humanity will be hampered due to dissension amongst its members. Those who are serious about pushing forward this Krishna consciousness movement should remember this and strictly follow the regulative principles so that their minds will not be disturbed. Now, when we think about this for a moment, this is a very, very important point. Just like yesterday, we were discussing certain passages in the story of King Prithu in the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and how this is so relevant with what many of us have experienced in the mission of Srila Prabhupada, specifically after his departure in 1977. Because the dissension is caused by not following the instruction of the spiritual master. Prabhupada says, we therefore advise our disciples to strictly follow the regulative principles. Otherwise, the most important movement for the upliftment of humanity will be hampered due to dissension amongst its members. Now, this is a very important point. Other devotees often have pointed out that there's a great problem and great harm when neophyte devotees, whether they are Kanishta neophytes or Madhyam neophytes, start to imitate the Uttamadhikari or the Mahabhagavata. Now, all of you are familiar with the Nectar of Instruction, where Srila Prabhupada is explaining, if one imitates a Mahabhagavata without being self-realized, eventually one will become degraded, unquote. Why did Prabhupada say that? If we notice the words Prabhupada is using, he didn't say immediately, he didn't say at once, he didn't say in the future, he says eventually. Because the seed of that aparad, the seed of that offense, will eventually fructify and cause very great problems. Now, it is not, as we have said this year in this program, it is not our intention, it is not part of our agenda here to criticize any devotee that have been initiated, that have become disciples of Srila Prabhupada and rendered service to his divine grace for preaching Krishna consciousness. Proper credit should be given, and that is the correct way to think. But having said that, if one imitates the Mahabhagavata, then we have to take shelter of the instruction of Srila Prabhupada and see the cause of the problem. We cannot be ignorant, like the ostrich with the head in the sand or the rabbit with the head in the snow. No, we have to see it for what it is. It's not difficult to see. It's not difficult to understand, because people will say, oh, how come such and such great devotee, how such and such person, why did they have problems? Well, Prabhupada is giving the explanation. Don't imitate. Don't pretend that you're a Mahabhagavata. The posing, posturing, and pretending will not help you or anyone or your followers or pseudo-followers. Just remain a humble servant and emphasize the worship of Srila Prabhupada. Just yesterday, we were mentioning towards the end of our discussion here how eventually in this movement, Prabhupada will be the only worshipable Acharya. All the altars will be cleaned up. There will be a spiritual FEMA, or Federal Emergency Management Authority. The only mantra obeisances will be the Nama Om Vishnu Padaya to Srila Prabhupada. The only mantra and peeping obeisances will be Nama Om Vishnu Padaya to Srila Prabhupada. It will take a little bit of time because we have a whole crew of imitators trying to usurp the position of Srila Prabhupada on the basis of a falsehood, a hoax that we were appointed. Oh, we've been voted in. We've got our certificate, our voting certificate. We've been properly elected. Well, I'm sorry to tell you, none of it is bona fide. It's all falsehood. It's mythology. Thank you very much. To whom it may concern. Hare Krishna.
Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you. And that was an amazing verse that we got to read today from the original Delhi Bhagavatams, which you can see are perfect and complete in themselves. And I thought it was interesting, Yashodanandana Prabhu, that you brought up this purport concerning dissension in the ranks of the Vaishnava community and Prabhupada's comments on them. And somehow or other, this term dissenter has been misrepresented in certain groups to be offensive. But if you have an objection in a corporation to the operation of that business for constructive criticism, which is the purpose of the real purpose of dissension, not falsehoods, but truths or insights into how something operates, then that should be welcomed by the leaders of that organization, not that you're banished, that you're beaten, that you're driven away from that organization because you don't maintain the so-called fraudulent status quo that they present to the public. You don't become banished. Unfortunately, within the ISKCON movement, that is the methodology. And this is because these groups that have formed after Prabhupada's disappearance have undertaken a program of individual sectarian guru cults. So it's interesting to note that each group has its own particular policies based on the principles of the individuals that are leading them. For example, Radhanath is different than Gopal. Gopal is different than Jayapataka. Jayapataka is different than Satsvarup. Satsvarup is different than Hridayananda. And on it goes, these hundreds, literally almost 200 different opinions on how things should be. Everyone has an opinion. But truth is not opinion. Truth is something that is protected in our disciplic succession. It was interesting to note yesterday that Krishna Katha was explaining to me the situation in the LA temple, which I didn't realize was the case. That when the pujari performs the arti, before he goes to the altar, he has to go to a separate room, and there's a huge stack of photos of different gurus that are there. And they go and take one of the photos of their guru and put it on the altar ahead of Prabhupada, whoever it is. He showed me the picture of it. I asked him, well, who is the guru? He goes, I have no idea. So all of these things that are going on in the so-called mission of Lord Chaitanya under the ISKCON control have gone off target, completely off the point. And I thought it was very interesting, Prabhu, that you mentioned what I consider a very prophetic statement, that Prabhupada in the future will become the recognized bona fide acharya for the movement moving forward, without all of these so-called imposters posing and pretending to be such uttama adhikaris when they're not. So dissension is not a bad thing. Recently, as you all know, one of our godbrothers, Ron Singh, was beaten last week in San Diego, Sacramento. Now, I've had a few people comment on it. Well, when you go to these groups and you speak up, maybe it's good that you get a slap in the head to teach you a lesson. Don't go there. Excuse me? Teach you a lesson because you don't agree with the status quo, so we'll beat you? Things have been much worse in the past, as you know, Krishna Katha, as a first-hand witness to a murder prosecution because there was a dissenter. Dissension does not mean punishment at the hands of narcissistic people that think they're right when they're wrong. And it is the responsibility of everyone in this group to cautiously move forward and tell the truth about the matter in terms of who is the bona fide spiritual master and who are the frauds. I was speaking to one of my godbrothers yesterday, who is a friend of the perpetrator of this beating in Sacramento. And he told me, I just chant my rounds and do what I'm going to do. And I stay away from all of this controversy. I got nothing to do with it. Let me say this, Prabhus. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. Those people that stand on the sidelines and do not say anything are also contributing to the destruction of the sampradaya of Lord Chaitanya through our spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. These people that are posing, posturing, and pretending must be exposed, and the truth must be established once again that Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, is the bona fide acharya, not just Siksha Guru. Recently, there was a will written, and in the will of one of these gurus, they wrote, Prabhupada is the Siksha Guru for all of us. And when people, then further stated, and when people in my group become so qualified, then they can also be elected to become gurus. And in this way, he was projecting how he felt the Sankirtan movement and the sampradaya that we have should be conducted. Completely a reflection of that person's state of mind and his deviant activities throughout his life to practice them in spreading the Krishna consciousness movement in complete confusion, delusion. and misunderstanding of this philosophy. They do not read the books. They don't study them properly. They don't chant their rounds, and yet they're pure devotees. This is completely bogus. Yashodanandana Prabhu, please, on dissension.
Well, this is a very important point. Why it is a very important point? Because many years ago, the society claimed that they had to reform. They've changed. And then they said they cleaned house.
Yeah.
And then at the same time as they were doing this claim, they voted in other individuals to that position of acharya, of initiating acharya. They never really explained how the original 11 became initiating acharya.
Never.
That was a taboo. That discussion, anybody who dared breathe that subject became an enemy of the state. That's how they were treated, to the point that one devotee was even assassinated over this issue. So those of you who know Sulochan and this story. Because if one has to utter a lie, then there will be other lies to cover up the original lie. Now, just like in this program here, we have a devotee in San Diego who is a trained professional detective. He has considerable experience in interviewing people, discussing with people, having dialogue with people that are suspects, or what they call in law, persons of interest. They know what questions to ask to get answers. If a person is truly innocent, they will be able to detect it. But they know how people will try to evade telling the truth. They will try to evade telling the truth. For Vaishnavas, that is not the standard. There should be no secret discussions, no secret political talk. That's nonsense. Prabhupada did not start a society to have a secret group of people make discussions for everybody, make decisions for everybody in secret. And then when you try to have a discussion, you're labeled as an enemy, as a rascal, as being envious and nonsense and this and that. And you escalate it a little bit, then they say, oh, we'll have our disciples kill him. Oh, really? You and whose army? It just shows you the deranged mental mentality of some of these people. You know, in America, they have laws in the book, both state and federal, that you cannot threaten to kill somebody, even threaten to physically harm somebody, depending on the circumstances. You can be arrested and punished. Every day, some madman will issue some threats of killing or harming a politician or members of Congress or members of Senate, and the government takes it seriously. You cannot have madmen threatening to kill people. And the problem with our society is that they've been living under this illusion, this mythology. The reason, somebody asked me recently, well, why have you people used this word mythology? Where is that from? That word was from the mastermind of that whole initiating appointed guru system, the late secretary. In Topanga Canyon, California, on the 3rd of December, 1980, the late secretary admitted that this whole idea that Prabhupada appointed some guru is a myth. There's no evidence for it. But 46 years later, they're still promoting the same myth, the same nonsense. ISKCON is being run like a cult, like a Guyana Jim Jones cult. It is not a Brahminical society. They're not using the Brahminical standard of discussion. Instead, it's the same banning, beating, harassing, suing, just like they've done against ISKCON Bangalore, spending $20 million suing them over the years, attacking Ron Singh behind the head, and then claiming, oh, no, Ron Singh is the one that attacked him. I'm sure 150 pounds, Ron Singh, 5'6", 5'8". He's going to attack somebody. How did he get injured behind the head from behind if he was attacking the person? But this is the kind of nonsense that goes on when people are trying to maintain their power at all costs. But rest assured, Lord Chaitanya's movement will go on. And the madmen that have become in charge of that society, ultimately, they will have to answer. At the time of death, there will be questions asked by great personalities like Prabhupada, Lord Chaitanya, the great Acharyas, and others like Chitragupta and Yamaraj. What did you do to protect the children? What did you do to protect and take care of the devotees? What did you do to take care of the women in this movement? What did you do to protect the words of the Acharya, the book of the... You don't think there's not going to be any questions asked? Think again. Hare Krishna.
Yes, absolutely. Think about what you do before you act, because there is karma in everything. Yes, there is. And the offenses against the pure devotee will nullify a person's spiritual progress, just like offenses against others. Hatimata offenses. There are 10 offenses in chanting the holy name. So one is thinking, oh, I'm chanting my rounds, I'm reading the books, but at the same time, I'm committing offenses. These nullify the benefits that you get from this process. It's like an elephant going through the garden, crushes the plants. So the seed of devotion produces an opportunity for us to make advancement. And when we commit offenses, they're crushed. And this is reality. And the people would say, well, why? Because you have an offensive mentality. Of course, a lot of people, that's their nature. They can't help themselves. They're just degraded. They don't have a capacity for spiritual life. They have a capacity for material life, and they use that capacity for their own particular benefit. Prabhupada said in a lecture yesterday, I was listening to, do not enter in a trade with Krishna. Do not enter into a trade. So what he's saying is, don't think that you can go and preach Krishna consciousness as a business for yourself with Krishna as the object that you're selling. You're selling Krishna for yourself, not for the benefit of others. That's why we preach compassion, actually dissension. For all of us here at this group, we are dissenters. Every one of us here are dissenters. But we do it out of compassion for others, not out of anger. This is not an angry discussion. This is a philosophical discussion on how to get transcendental knowledge from the pure devotee to get you out of this repeated cycle of birth and death. And everyone here must die. And before you die, if you properly practice this process of Krishna consciousness under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master, your life will be successful. And any other practice of this without that focus will condemn you. The cheaters and the cheated. So one has to be careful. We have Krishna Katha. And I did mention him a few times in the talk. We do speak on an ongoing basis.
Hare Krishna.
Quite enlightening. Maybe you could share some more insights into some of the items that were mentioned in today's class and your personal experience with them in terms of Romeshwar, etc. Please, Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu's, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, our eternal spiritual master, and his teachings that are always available. Like you just said, you were listening to a Prabhupada class yesterday. He lives eternally with all of this archiving. He said, always keep recording, never stop recording. And the devotees that did that, Yadu Bar and all the others that held that microphone, we thank them, because it is by
Yes.
their service that we're able to hear the spiritual, transcendental words of the spiritual master for all time on various mediums. You're right, Yashoda Prabhu and Vishwakarma Prabhu. Dissension is ongoing. I witnessed a ton of it in the early 80s and onward. Right in front of Ramaswar's quarters, there was a balcony, and God brothers all day, all evening would come up and, what's going on? What about this? You have a chance to resist this zonal acharya thing. You know better. You're intelligent. And he would just come up with some, excuse or concoction that I have to for me to remain. I'm being forced. And they would just get pushed away. I watched it. I witnessed hundreds of devotees, dissenters, and they would just walk away in amazement, in disgust, that how is this unbona fide concocted system being levied on Prabhupada's pure movement? And so is it still going on? Yes, I'm proud to be a dissenter, because we know the actual truth and the methodology that Prabhupada gave us is not being practiced. Although Yashoda made a good point, all of this will eventually get squeezed out. You won't see any more of these guru pictures on Prabhupada's altar. At some point, they will go away. I asked a devotee 2 days ago, he called me from the San Diego group, and he asked me to stop propagating this Ritvik philosophy. He called me a Ritvik. I said, first of all, don't call me something that you don't know the definition of. I said, all I did was tell these devotees that the real guru is Srila Prabhupada, and that there is a system that he established for taking official ceremonial initiation. But the fact that you're chanting your rounds and you're giving it your best effort in chanting them offenselessly, you're following the four regular principles. You're already a disciple of his divine grace. So don't be threatened and forced into choosing one of these posers, because eventually, and this is what I asked the devotee, I said, what is the difference between the current system and this zonal acharya thing that was pushed on us in 1978, 79 and onward? And he couldn't answer. I said, there really isn't any difference. You're no longer forced to choose one of these posers in your zone. Now you can choose one from Africa or Europe, but there's still no difference it's just a geographical difference. It's a repackaging. Yashoda gives a very nice, I think it's a good 90-minute description of at least 10 or a dozen changes to this system, which is typical of any material, democratic, nonsensical lawmaking city or government, is, this scenario just popped up. We need to make another law, another regulation to handle that scenario. And then a couple of years, more scenarios pop up. We need to write another law to handle that. So this is what's going on there. It's like you say, there's the one lie, and then it builds and it builds and it builds. And before you know it, you're so deep into these lies to try to cover for all the previous lies. Everyone sees it. So when you talk to these new devotees that are coming, they're attracted to Krishna and Prabhupada. These posers really end up just being a priest, a Ritvik representative. They're just a name-giving, bead-chanting, irrelevant personality. In the big scheme of things, Prabhupada is the center. Prabhupada is the guru. They just won't admit it. because they want their little slice of the big business pie. That's what they want. They're still attached to pad, profit, adoration, distinction. They can't cut that cord and just be in humility about their position, representing Prabhupada and bringing these souls into introducing them to Srila Prabhupada, the Mahabhagavan. They're still attached. So eventually they will leave their bodies just like we will. But these new generations of devotees will see past and through this nonsense that they're somehow or other on this level, right? Because in the stupid law book they created, one of the famous, it just pops right off the page. It says, if your guru falls down. What is that? No such thing of a bona fide guru falling down. But they've got that law in there because they got to cover the original big lie, right? So dissension is wanted because if you don't, like Yashoda and you, Vishwakarma, and all the devotees listening on this live broadcast, as well as up on YouTube, if you don't stand up and speak the truth about what is really happening in the pure devotees movement, then you're not really part of the pure devotees movement. You're just like head in the sand. You're over here, you're doing your thing, but you have to speak up. That's what Prabhupada wants us to do. He wants us to speak up. Thank you for your time, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and his amazing treasure that we are so blessed to have this devotional service, to be able to print his original, unadulterated, unchanged books, the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 3-volume set. Jai, all glories to Prabhupada. Haribol.
Yeah, it's interesting to note, Prabhu, that you were mentioning about Romeshwar and how he was dealing with the problem of dissension. And it is understood in the material society where when people have a disagreement with the corporate leadership of an organization, a lot of times, and this is the wrong way to deal with dissension, is they do cover up. Cover up. So instead of trying to solve the problem, they hide from it. They try to continually camouflage the truth of the matter with their hypocrisy. So this is something where all of us working together is to, and it's actually quite interesting to be a part of this, because it's an opportunity for us to take up service. Like most of us, we talked about time. You have time. Well, how do you use your time? Well, along with the devotional practices that you perform as a bhakti yogi, one of them is to explain the truth to others. That's as simple as it is. And part of the truth, someone could say, well, how come you're just talking about this? Because Krishna consciousness is a dynamic movement. It's real right now. Like someone would say, well, I just want to talk about Krishna in the rasa dance. Oh, okay. And there's nothing wrong with that. But what about the fact that all these things are going on in the name of spiritual practice, but they're being misrepresented due to the motivation of a certain few? You're either part of the solution or you're part of the problem. Everyone knows that expression. And this has been going on for ever in this society. Cover up, banning, bashing, defamation, character assassination. Sure, people are constantly attacking, especially the cottage industry of the internet, where anybody can put up an account on Facebook and start pontificating their point of view and expect everyone to give them an audience. Oh, look at he said this or that. And the best way to get an audience is to bring up a controversy. Oh yeah, they did this, they did that, he was this, he was that. And the fault finders will carry on while the camel train will march forward in the pursuit of truth. The dogs will bark, everyone. I want Jonas Priya, maybe he could give us a few comments from his beachside resort in Hawaii.
Hare Krishna.
Haribo. Jonas Priya, how
Hare
are you?
Krishna, Haribo,
Haribo.
glories to Srila Prabhupada. Aloha.
There you are.
Yes, first I want to say thank you for having this wonderful gatherings where we could get a little light on this darkness that
Yes.
we're swimming on. Yes, Prabhupada said that our business, our family business is printing books. So as soon as we start making an effort that way, we see that we become enlightened, because this is Prabhupada's request to everybody that if you have money, what he said, go tour Europe, go to India, do parikrama. No, he said, print books. So by doing so, we're following Prabhupada's instructions. And why print these original books? Because this Bhagavatam, 1962, 64, 63, and 64, they don't have one drop of intervention by these Mayavadi Saharyas. So when somebody reads those books, they get immediate benefit at 100%. There's no question. So now that we have reached our goal, now we have to start thinking how we're going to distribute these books. And everybody should try to distribute at least one set, if not 10 or 100. So this is what I planning of doing. Can't wait to get my hands on those books. And on changes, I have one little story. My friend used to clean Prabhupada's desk in LA, and she was instructed when she cleaned Prabhupada's desk, she will pick one item at a time from the desk and clean underneath that item, and then move to the next item, lift it up and clean. Like she didn't pick everything up and clean the whole desk. Why? Because Prabhupada knew exactly what everything was on his desk, and when he was working, he didn't have to even look. He just reached his hand, and he knew it was gonna be there. So these changes, even to that extent, Prabhupada didn't want his pen to be turned 1 millimeter the wrong way. And if somebody plays something down when they clean his deck, they'll be called. And Prabhupada would tell them, do not move anything. In other words, don't change anything. Don't disturb my flow of work. So this is very important. And one curious point, there was a Tulsi plant on Prabhupada's desk. And this Tulsi plant was leaning heavily towards Srila Prabhupada. And so my friend was curious, and she turned the plant 180, so the plant is facing away from Prabhupada. And next morning, she goes in to clean the desk, and the plant is leaning all the way again towards Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Glories to Srila Prabhupada, and thank you everyone for attending today's reading and discussion of Srimad Bhagavatam from the original Delhi versions. And we want to thank all of the members who have contributed to this GoFundMe drive for their for paying for the reprinting is very a valuable service that you're rendering. And I mentioned that we will be sending anyone, irrespective of the amount, because some of you, we have a friend in Sacramento, Robert, he's on social assistance. He doesn't have any money, but whatever money he had, he contributed to the project, and we're very happy to send him a set of Srimad Bhagavatams in appreciation for his effort. And we want to thank Bhakta Jad too, I see in France. Yashoda, he obviously is French. Maybe you could speak some Français with him, Prabhu, please.
Bhakta Jad, comment ça va, mon ami? How are you, my friend?
Hare
Ça va
Krishna,
bien?
Yashodanandan Prabhu. Yes, ça va super. And
C'est très beau.
if I could add some words, this
Yes.
this original Bhagavatam sets, I already had one in my hands. It is pure ecstatic nectar. Thank you so much for reprinting it. You have bold parts, you know, where Prabhupada put bold. You don't have this in the BBT books. And you have reviews in the beginning of the second volume and third volume. It is so authentic. And there are things which were deleted in the American versions you won't find anywhere but in these volumes. So it is 100% bona fide. You are blessed to do this service, and I shall sell them on my online shop here in France. By the grace of the Lord, it is the biggest online shop in France. So I get 10,000 views per month. So this Bhagavatam you print, they will be seen by many people, at least in France. Hare Krishna, and all glories to your service. All glories to Prabhupada.
Interestingly, I want to make a comment. When Prabhupada departed on 14th of November 1977, Guru Kripa Swami and myself were in Tokyo, Japan, because what happened is that there was litigation. There was a lawsuit against the ISKCON Vrindavan temple for the construction of the Gurukul building in Vrindavan. And Prabhupada convened a few people, say, we have to try to solve that. So he requested us to go to Japan, collect some money so we can solve that litigation problem. Mm-hmm. When we came back from Japan, we came back on the 1st of December, 1977. And we spoke to the late secretary, and he described what happened after Prabhupada departed, the ceremonies, everything. The one thing that he said, Prabhupada in the last few months had discussed how the future of the movement should be more on book distribution and Varnashram rather than just big temples, big buildings, big bricks and stone. In other words, Prabhupada wanted emphasis. We already had centers in the major cities around the world. He wanted to reiterate that the real focus of the movement should be the establishment of these Varnashram self-sufficient farms, get devotees engaged, and book distribution on big scale. So just it basically goes along with our focus with reestablishing Prabhupada's original books and encouraging book distribution. And we're very encouraged by devotees like Bhakta Jad. Tu rends un très bon service, Prabhu, très bon service. Merci beaucoup de ton service à Prabhupada. I'm saying you're doing very good service, and thank you so much for your service to Prabhupada with his book distribution, his site we distribute. This is very good. We're also arranging to develop a book distribution center both in San Diego and Sacramento. So things are moving in the right direction to move forward with Prabhupada's mission. It's not really our mission. It's Prabhupada's mission that we're humbly trying to, fulfill. And we don't really mean anything personal with some of our comments about some of our godbrothers and other people. We're just trying to focus people on Srila Prabhupada. One thing is I want to address very briefly, because I realize we've passed the time. Devotees sometimes ask, well, what's the difference between the Krishna consciousness movement and the specific society that Prabhupada started? because Prabhupada in his writings, lectures, sometimes uses both terms in different ways. It was all meant to be the same. The society was meant to promote and present the pure teachings of the Krishna consciousness movement. But if the society deviates from that aim and that presentation of Prabhupada's pure teachings, then the movement still goes on. The transcendental movement of Lord Chaitanya was there before 1965-66, and it will still be there regardless of what happened with a few misguided individuals. So we are part of what may sometimes call the greater Krishna consciousness movement, the group of devotees promoting Srila Prabhupada, the Acharya, and promoting his books. Hare Krishna.
Yes, John, just quickly, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to say also that you are printing also Easy Journey to Other Planets and Ishopanishad. Awesome
Yes.
books for distributing books. And Krishna Kata, I remember, he said that the first book he read was Ishopanishad.
That's
Even
right.
it's not big pages, big number, it has so much potency. So it's not just
Yes.
Bhagavatam. Easy Journey and Ishopanishad, you can convert people to Krishna consciousness with only this book. So I will sell them also. Hare Krishna.
Sai, thank you, John.
Nice.
Hare Krishna.
We love his accent.
Tremendous association here at the Prabhupada Disciples Association, Hare Krishna Society. And we please promote these classes. We have a flyer that we created. You can get the artwork for that and hand it out wherever you go to give people an opportunity to join us, because our numbers are not that high, but at the same time, we're not looking for followers, but we are looking for people that are really serious about spiritual life and want to be a part of a genuine group like this. So many are called, few are chosen, and we will march forward with the Sankirtan mission, and we'll look forward to seeing you all on Wednesday for the reading of Chaitanya Charitamrita at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here in Canada. And throughout the world, you can get your world clock and see what time it is for you. And if you can't attend, which we understand, you can attend our classes that are posted at Hare Krishna Society YouTube. And we have over 300 programs there that we've produced over the last few years. Very interesting discussions. And you'll see, if you go back to the early days when we started this, relatively early, and how we're doing it now, it's evolving, but the theme has been the same. As we stumble forward in the pursuit of truth, that Srila Prabhupada is the bona fide spiritual master for all of us moving forward in the scope of eternal time. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We're going to have Srila Prabhupada chant for us, playing his bongo back in the 60s. So chant along. We'll have the Vanchakalpa Terubius prayers, and then the closing of the show. Haribol.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Let us offer our respectful obeisances to all the assembled Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. We offer our respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who can fulfill the desires of everyone just like desire trees and are full of compassion for the fallen souls. On Tuesday of this week, according to the Mayapur calendar, is the celebration of Sri Jayananda Prabhu's disappearance, and Wednesday is Lord Nrsimha's appearance date, not the same as Chaturdasi. So next Wednesday, we will have a discussion about Jayananda and Lord Nrsimha. It'll be a very interesting program. Bring everybody and let's see what we can do. Hare Krishna. Thanks everybody for participating. Merci beaucoup, Bhaktajad, pour ta participation et ta discussion très intéressante. I'm telling Bhaktajad, thank you very much for your participation and very interesting discussion. Hare
Yes,
Krishna.
and Yashoda, please mention Aprakrita, please.
Oh oui, Aprakrita Prabhu, es-tu là? Aprakrita.
Oui, je suis là.
Ah, oui. Aprakrita and Montreal also speak French. Very good. So we have two leaders for the French preaching, both in Quebec and in Europe. There's a lot of French-speaking people there. Aprakrita has been preaching very steadily for many, many years to all
Over
kinds of
45.
people.
Over 45
Yes, over 45 years. Very steady. Very steady. Very nice.
Merci beaucoup. Hare Krishna.
Du très beau service. Very nice service. Très bon service à Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnava Vangsha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathannitam Tang Sajivam साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य
Hare Krishna.